Captain, incoming message.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind.
Groovy.
Hi-ho. This is me, Kermit the Frog.
Hello there.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Not a great plan.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Hey there, we're those Sci-Fi guys. This is that Those Sci-Fi Guys show. Just two working dudes, different lives, different jobs, but a whole lot of love for science fiction and the fun that comes with. We are your hosts. I am P.S. McKay, and I am the reason California sucks.
I'm DT Cavman, the real DT Cavman, and I have ridden long and hard to tell you that it does suck.
You've been to California, right?
I've only been to Death Valley, so
well, no wonder. Holy hell! And please put the icing on the cake with this one. It was August, wasn't it?
The first time I went was August. Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
Fort Irwin, California, in August.
Oh my God.
That is an unholy hell, my friend.
And you've been to Baghdad.
That's worse, but.
So, whew, man. Yeah, I was introduced to real desert heat in 2004 for work. I went to Phoenix in June and July, and that is still pales in comparison to Mojave Desert, Death Valley and whatnot. That's
That'll
bad.
cook you.
It'll cook you.
I think
120.
the hottest I've ever been was Kuwait, the deserts of Kuwait.
Yeah, really.
That, you want to talk about being hot as balls? That like will roast your insides.
How is civilization able to live there? My God, like before even swamp coolers, man. I mean, swamp coolers would have been a difference, but they didn't even have that over 150 years ago.
You got me, my man. The hottest I think I ever was Kuwait, but Saudi was no joke. That was like 135 was the hottest day I remember.
I think the world record is 136 or something in Death Valley. So
I think there's some hotter places. I think it's gotten hotter in places. But it was definitely like 130 in Kuwait.
Yeah.
And the AC went out in the tent that night.
Oh Christ. And see, with that kind of heat, once the sun goes down, it doesn't get cool because the entire surface of the earth right there is superheated and retaining all the heat from the sun earlier that day. So, yeah, it gets like that.
130 degrees, 130 degree heat it's like standing in front of an open oven.
Yeah, it really is. It gets to be 112 here routinely, very rare over 115. Here in the Fresno. So
Iraq was, in the summer was over 120 just about every day. So was Saudi, Kuwait. And those are my experiences. Even Afghanistan, because we were on the valley floor, would hit about 100, maybe a little more.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
It's those valleys. The valleys will kill you. Like that's literally where we live. I live in the valley, and that's how the heat gets stuck in. So,
yeah, but you look around you, and it's like mountains, like 5,000 feet straight up all around the valley. So.
Oh yeah, same here.
That's Afghanistan.
So I think that the takeaway is Fresno and Afghanistan are not that different.
I mean, maybe. Never been to Fresno.
Yeah. Oh dear Lord. Anyway,
All right.
how you doing?
We got to get
DT?
rolling before I finish my drink.
I already finished mine. It's already a lost cause. So what brings us here tonight?
Hey,
I feel like we've done this before.
Deja vu.
And we are recording. Just FYI.
Wait a second. This isn't deja vu, and we did record the last time.
Yeah, sort of.
But we've been experimenting trying to use StreamYard, and that ate one of our. By the way, did we reorder properly?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, no,
because it took us like.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and that episode was supposed to be that, but since we didn't have that, yeah, the order just fell right into to the way it was supposed to be. So
had to ask.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it took a year and a half to fix the Mother's Day special, and that ordering.
Well, we basically had to create it as a special. And then not have a 99. And we had to explain it. Note, I do believe, yes, we also, the crossover with these sci-fi guys, excuse me, that was unnumbered.
That was unnumbered, and we had agreed to not do that.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. It made sense.
I'm trying to think. Was it the 100th episode where we reset everything? Yeah, I guess so.
Yes, we went from 98 to 100, even though we were literally doing 100 because we had forgot to number. What?
Yeah. Here we go. Here's the summary of episode 100. We've reached 100 episodes. The guys explain why this is in fact the 100th episode and how they progressed along the way with the different milestones in the last year and a half. And yeah. So good memory.
Well, what do you think? This is what are we at? Around 171?
This is episode 172. Yes, 172.
Do you think we can knock out 28 more before the end of the year to get to 200?
Christ, we probably can. I don't. I mean, just depends.
Look, let's do what we did the last time, and once it starts getting towards Thanksgiving, okay,
we might be able to barrel
do it
through.
Great.
We might be able to barrel through in the fall. Like we could get into a routine in the fall because the summer season's heating up, and we're going to be a little inconsistent with recording times, but not necessarily publishing times. So
yeah, so let's not put too much pressure on ourselves. We know we're gonna record on for our 3-year that's coming up, and then we'll see if we can make 200 this year. If we make 200 in January, then so be it.
Yeah. That would be good. I got an idea for our 3-year, by the way. Best third season episodes.
Oh, that's good.
Now, if only we can remember it.
Oh.
We got 3 months to remember that.
Write a note.
Yeah. So, if I could remember to even look up for the note. So,
well,
actually, I can write that down in the episode descriptions on our file. So,
well, partners, I can tell you, we're looking forward to continuing with different things. This year we've really been able to expand out of our normal reviews and discussion points. We've had 2 special guests, one that was more of a personal retrospective, another one that was almost an interview, really.
Yeah.
And then we also had the crossover with these sci-fi guys. So.
Yeah, we've definitely expanded our our venture a little bit. So
yeah, we've kind of pushed our boundaries a little bit, created different stories, different projects. Heck, one day I walked into my folks' house and they were watching the episode with James on the
meeting
big
George
screen.
Lucas.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I was walking and I'm like, is that me on the TV?
Yeah, that's so your dad. He would put the damn episode up on the TV, wouldn't he?
Yeah. He was trying to mess with my nephew's head.
Yeah.
He was trying to see if my nephew would wonder where his uncle is. And then I walk in the front door.
Right. So.
But it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
And we hope to do more.
Well, it's been an interesting year so far. So hopefully we'll be here to keep going. So. And celebrate 3 years, man. That's crazy. Feels like it was a different time.
It was. Technically, I mean, it was almost like a different life ago. I was in a different state. I was still in the Army. I've literally I'm on technically my 3rd job.
Yeah, that's true. Damn, dude.
Our first pilot, our pilot was while I was still in the Army. Our first year anniversary, I was working for a different company. Last year, I was working for a different company. I'm still with the same company now that I was last year, but still, had 3 jobs in 3 years. It's a little wild.
It's a crazy thing, man. Ugh. Well, speaking of wild,
that's what it looks like anyway.
Yes. the actual ride was not that wild, but
it kind of has been.
Yeah.
It's been tumultuous. I can tell you, I've recorded in at least 5 different states.
Don't let me put words in your mouth on that regard.
Kentucky, Ohio, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. Maybe it was only 4.
4.
Well, I also did do some recordings. Some of my shorts were in a different country.
International waters.
Yeah. I did not do a short at Rhode Island Comic-Con. I did a recording when we got back. But that is something we've continued to do, is you did shorts while you were out at Tahoe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll continue that. I've got Boston Fan Expo coming up here in a few weeks, so I'll do a few shorts from that. I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think so too. So speaking of a good time and a wild and crazy ride, what brings us here?
Well, when we attempted to record, we had recorded a full episode that
Fuck you,
disappeared into
StreamYard.
the ether.
Fuck you.
StreamYard ate our sci-fi western. And
your mother wears combat boots, StreamYard.
I think that's a little insensitive to those women in uniform.
Damn it! Why'd you have to do that? That's not.
Why did you have to dig up some old one that wasn't even good at the time?
It's just to show the ludicrousness of doing that. That's my point. It's not a Jesus, DT, stop this. Get into it. Go.
So we did our sci-fi western, which did get eaten, and now we're gonna take another swing at it. And I decided to dust off the real, true blue DT Calfman cavalry Stetson. I'd worn the brown one before, and I had worn that one with one unit. This one I've worn through several units as I've spent time in the armored cavalry, and this was the first, and this one's my favorite. It fits so good.
Oh my goodness. It's a good
Dude,
hat.
It's
a pretty handsome hat.
This is a great fucking hat, man. I'm not gonna lie.
I
wore
yeah.
this. I wore this week at the Memorial Day ceremony in town.
That's right. That's because I'm sitting here going, I've seen it before, and I feel like I've seen it recently, and that's why. That's why.
Well, it's fun. It was a hat. It was a special hat day.
Yes.
Some of the veterans were wearing all their different types of hats. I saw one I hadn't seen in decades. A blue UN peacekeeping beret.
Oh, damn.
Surprised somebody dusted that one off.
Yeah. Didn't that turn into black?
Well, no, the UN has blue, and like the US and other forces would wear them on UN peacekeeping missions. So we all had like the same hat, but our different uniforms. It was basically to kind of denote that we were all on the same team.
Right. Right.
So,
but have they gotten rid of the blue beret?
I don't think we've done anything like that since the 90s anyway. But
well, yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, good times.
The Army still has the black beret, but it's mostly for. Actually, it might be gone. I
was gonna say I didn't like I mean, you might have different thoughts. I was not a fan of the beret.
No, I'm not a huge fan of the berets in general. The Rangers had the black beret, and then they had to go to a tan beret because they said, "Here, let's everybody wear it. It's a headgear for the Army.
Right.
Why are we standing outside without anything blocking our eyes?" Then finally, after a decade of this horse shit, they went back to what they call the patrol cap, which is basically a camouflage looking. It's the camouflage hat. It looks like a baseball hat, but it's not it's not a baseball hat. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's got a front brim.
It's a cap. It's got a brim.
It's a cap, front brim. There it is.
Yeah.
Done.
Nothing says bad headgear than standing in a motor pool in July in Texas wearing a black beret. Not good for the outside.
That's a bit of a tough putt, let's be honest.
Yeah. Anywho, this one's great outside. It is a little hot. It can be, but it blocks the sun. And damn, it looks good.
Yeah.
I would have worn this all the time if they had let me.
Well, there you go. So.
But you know who would have looked pretty damn good in one of these?
Brisco County Jr.
Yeah, and that's why I wore the brown one when we did Brisco. So let's go ahead and do Brisco, which is probably the closest thing to a true Western with sci-fi elements.
Said what we're doing? Like best Western?
Yes, I said the sci-fi.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So we did an entire episode on Brisco, and it's hard not to.
I feel like we've done this before.
Well, we love Brisco. Remember, we also said we were going to do a part 2 because we did the pilot in a couple of episodes. What we should probably do is a few more and the series finale.
Yeah, did I buy? I'm looking to see if I bought the series because
I know I did.
I
love Brisco. It is the perfect DT Caveman movie or TV show.
Yeah, it's a solid show, man.
It is for starters. It's pretty well written and acted too. It was well produced. There was a lot of practical effects, but it was just a really solid show. One that was probably before its time. Plenty of sci-fi elements. The orb being the big one. The orbs that came from the future and such. And
I mean, the opening scene of the pilot is those Chinese railroad workers getting liberated by using the strength they got from the orb. They broke away their bonds, and let's just say it. Railway workers is a very loose term for what they really were.
They were basically in indentured servitude Chinese immigrants.
Super indentured servitude, and that's maybe even being generous. So,
well, I mean, the guy who was running the railroad crew was also a corrupt bastard, but it's and this is very much the orb. When it gives power, it's very much like the super soldier serum. Good becomes great, bad becomes worse. That's what Erskine said to Rogers the night before the procedure. And so that is basically what this orb did. And you see in the pilot what the power of the orb did is it gives these poor Chinese workers the strength to free themselves from servitude. And it made the corrupt cattle baron or robber baron, he
super corrupt
strength, but it ate away at him, kind of like the dark side ate away at Palpatine.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then of course you also have the Weird West steampunk and comedy mixed in with some pretty darn good westerns. Let's not forget all the steampunk elements, Professor Wickwire and company.
I love
inventing
steampunk.
all these
it just feels so
things.
attainable,
Yeah. Well, and then that's what they did. They had tanks and zeppelins and rockets and all sorts of things that seemed to be a little before their time.
Yes.
Usually done to humorous effect. So.
This is not a Western, but speaking of steampunk, horribly underrated, Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
You know what? That was a pretty wild movie. Wasn't it? It was Jude Law.
Jude Law, Angelina Jolie, everyone.
It was a pretty
filmed with a certain kind of 30s aesthetic to the picture as well.
It was Art
fog.
Deco and color scheme.
Yeah, like a flatter color scheme, or should I say? More metallic color scheme, whatnot. But anyway, that I'm digressing. But that is a perilously underserved movie.
That you could put in the category with The Rocketeer, and that we could do an entire separate episode on those two.
We could. And there we go.
And we shall.
Now our whole summer is all set up.
Anyway, moving along, we've got. So Brisco was like for a short-lived show. I watched a lot of it growing up because even though I missed a lot of the Friday night, it ended up being in reruns as the end of the block of Sci-Fi or of Western Saturdays with on TNT. We start with the Hondo TV series, How the West Was Won, The Wild Wild West, and then Brisco. Brisco was the only one done in, that was a recent show, and I mean it was a pretty damn fun show.
I agree.
And of course, it had Bruce Campbell in maybe one of his ironically enough, in one of his most grounded portrayals.
Yeah, he really was pretty grounded, wasn't he? He's usually over the top now and like an exaggerated character of any. I mean,
with the exception of Sam Axe. Sam was pretty grounded too, from Burn Notice.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was gonna say I knew that he was a big person in Burn Notice, but I wasn't sure how he played him. But yeah, So yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Sam
Bruce Campbell's a
sarcastic. In Burn Notice, he was snarky, but he was a retired SEAL. He was fairly competent. He was the smart ass buddy. He just wasn't the cartoonish smart ass buddy
right.
like Autolycus was. Jack.
Oh, Autolycus. Right. Good old Autolycus. Wow, 27 episodes of Brisco County Jr. That's a lot of episodes for a single season.
And the first episode was a feature length episode too.
So was the final episode. Yeah, because that's a two-parter now. That's why
it
it's
was
27.
A two-parter. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's 27. Okay. But yeah, the pilot was a full thing. They haven't split that in the episode order.
You could actually watch 1 hour of Brisco a day for the entire month of February.
Yeah, you could. It's true. Oh, Julius Carey died in 2008. How sad.
Oh yeah, it was like stomach cancer. It was terrible. Something awful.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah,
he was such a great
Julius
actor.
Carey. Big as Lord Bowler. It was absolutely perfect. Oh, absolutely perfect. Love Julius Carey as Lord Bowler. And the funny thing too was like he just didn't buy into all this coming thing shit. He was the tracker. He was the one, touching the ground, following tracks. He was the skeptic. Brisco was the idealist. So they were perfect together.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Brisco was calm. Bowler was angry.
It's a good point.
It was they were a
classic odd
perfectly
couple.
well-matched duo. Oh, they were great. And they fed so well off each other when they were rivals and then when they were partners. So it is a show that was gone far too soon. A reboot or maybe a sequel series with an older Brisco, I would be on board with. I'm just telling you, it makes a man feel warm inside. And it was a lot of fun, and it's a shame it only lasted one season. Anyway, on to the next one season sci-fi western. You guessed it, Firefly.
I was gonna say Serenity, but that's the movie. Yeah, damn it.
which Joss Whedon said was, what happens if there was a civil war in space and the Confederates were the guys we were following around?
It's a crazy thought process, man.
I think he was watching like a Civil War documentary or something, and he's like, what if it was like that in space? And to be honest with you, he built a very believable and very sci-fi realistic science realistic TV series. This show was set like 600 years in our future or 500 years in our future in another system because the Earth kind of shit the bed, and it took them like 400 years to get to this new system, which had multiple inhabitable planets, and I guess there was some terraforming and others, but there's like a couple dozen worlds and moons that settled in this system, and it's basically a combination of Eastern Chinese culture and like almost frontier American.
Yeah.
And that was what it was. They curse in Chinese. They dress like cowboys. Herds of cattle and horses are still valuable cargo to be shipped because, when you go out to the outer colonies, they're more agrarian and
a little less hospitable.
Yeah, they're also a lot more rural, a lot less technology out there.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the first aired episode was called The Train Job, and they literally hijacked some sort of cargo from an alliance, and the alliance was like all the core planets that were all the highly civilized and advanced planets that tried to control everything. And I don't know, it was like something like 5 years or so before the series. There was basically the brown coats, these separatists, rebels. They just wanted freedom for their like self-determination, and they rebelled against the inner systems and eventually were defeated and crushed because of their lack of numbers and technology and such. But there's a lot of unrepentant rebels out there, the brown coats, and a lot of them take jobs on the fringe, which is what Malcolm Reynolds and company do.
Right.
So their Firefly class ship Serenity is part, cargo ship, part transport, part illegal salvage and smuggler. He's a little Han Solo. He's a little Clint Eastwood.
He's not exactly
he's a
Mr.
little
Morality.
goofy. No, he's not.
Yeah, he's definitely a grade morality kind of anti-hero.
Yeah, but he has a strong moral code himself.
A moral code that was betrayed. And now he's
he was religious when he was betrayed.
Right. And now he's out on it for his own, because the system he knows betrayed him.
He's out to protect his and me and mine, as he liked to say.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of hits home. Anyway,
he's an all right guy.
Yeah.
Isn't that it from the that episode where he does the duel? It's like, I guess I'm the better man. Then he stabs him. All right, I guess I'm a good guy. He stabs him again. I guess I'm all right. Yeah.
I forgot about that. I guess I'm all right. I watched that in a binge in 2007, so it was the year I was getting married.
Me too.
Yeah, I was getting married. It was like a month before we were the wedding, and I'm like, I need something to clear my brain. So, and then it ended,
never
and I got
seen
sad.
it. And then someone had loaded onto a share on a share site. Like we had a share drive downrange, and someone had uploaded a bunch of things, some movies, some episodes of TV shows, and there was the episode War Stories from Firefly. So I watched it. Turned out it was pretty interesting, and as soon as I got back, I bought the series and the movie, and it's in some ways there's a little bit of Star Wars in it, with the rim is kind of underdeveloped, and people are out there having to do smuggling or odd jobs and stuff. Like I said, there's a little bit of Han Solo in Malcolm Reynolds. Definitely there's a bit of a template. But he wears a duster and carries what looks like a steampunk revolver on his.
Yeah, speaking of steampunk.
Yeah. But Nathan Fillion he did it so well, and the language was so rustic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the, him and Kaylee, they had a very rustic language,
right.
Almost kind of rural. Jane was Jane too, and then you have people like the Shepherd and Simon, who are from these, the civilized worlds from the Alliance area, and they speak more, Inara as well. They speak very, either due to education or area of birth, they speak more refined English. They speak, you know, with a snootier, in some ways, version, and it's funny. Plus, it's hilarious when they start cursing when Mal is drawing some stuff, and then he ends up just cursing in Chinese, which is a great way to get around the censors here.
Yeah, very good way to get around the censors. My Chinese roommate though heard a couple things when it was on broadcast, and he turned. He's like, "Wow, they're airing that." So
clearly, we knew it was real Chinese vulgarity.
Oh yes, yes it was.
Which makes it even better. You know, it was again another show that went too soon, but it had a very lived-in, very plausible world. I mean, you watch all the space scenes. There's no sound. You know, because of the vacuum. There's no faster than light travel. There are no aliens. It's all humans and, you know, advanced technology. There's not a lot in the way of, you know, lasers and whatnot. I guess some of their stuff is more energy based, but it doesn't look like it. So, I mean, Zoe's carrying a Winchester.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, if the technology works, it works, man. You can't improve upon it perfection.
Yeah, but they kind of make it seem like it may look like a Winchester, but it's kind of more powerful. Like these guns look like 19th century guns, but they're actually more powerful. I don't know. There's just some stuff with that. They actually did an entire episode over the heist of like a prototype energy weapon. So
This is true. So
it was a very good TV series that ended too soon. Some of the Western motif was utilized less in the movie Serenity, except for the, you know,
the opening bank scene.
Accents and language. Yeah.
And the chase with the Reavers and whatnot. We saw the Reavers for the first time in that opening scene.
Oh, God.
I mean, maybe it wasn't an opening scene. It was like the first real action sequence.
Yeah. It was the first scene with the Serenity crew, because I think the opening scene was River as a young kid.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then Simon rescuing her.
Right.
Anyway, great show. Definitely a Western. Definitely science fiction. So, what do you have, my man?
Well, I was trying to think. Are there any Westerns in the original Star Trek series?
Spectre of the Gun.
Was it Spectre of the Gun? What was that about?
That one was...
I genuinely can't think of it.
That one was the one where they end up in a recreation of Tombstone in the gunfight of the OK Corral. But they're playing the Clanton McClowry group.
Okay.
And they're facing off against a bunch of ERPs. I think it's another one of those, like, energy being forces them to do
stuff against their will.
For their amusement, you know, a typical TOS episode. But they're on a Western lot. They're, you know, Captain Kirk and Spock. You just pulled that
right out of your rear end.
Yeah, Kirk and Spock standing around, you know, in their Starfleet uniforms with, you know, drop holes, you know, with Western, with, you know, Western TV show or movie.
Yeah, there it
holsters
is.
On.
Like, there it is.
McCoy must have felt right at home. He did DeForest Kelly did a shitload of Westerns.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's all him, man. Like, and I think they all did that we're gonna use. So,
I mean, there was that one, and let's not forget the what was it? When Kirk loses his memory and is living with the Native Americans on the Native American planet.
I suppose that could be half a Western.
Yeah.
I mean, the Western motif is about cowboys and cattle, gunfight, things like that.
True, but there's also the cowboys and Indians thing, which gets played out in certain versions of these things. Remember,
Sure.
people were as terrified of Reavers as people were Comanche Raiders on the frontier.
Were they kind of a stand-in for that?
God, I hope not.
Because, dude, that's I mean,
but
the
still,
Reavers were a pretty scary element. Don't get me wrong. I just,
they're
let's back out of that one,
almost,
shall we?
but they're almost like zombies too.
Yeah, mindless
So
zombies that just.
Yeah, it's like cowboys fighting zombies.
Yeah, it completely is.
But like World War Z style zombies.
Oops.
Or Dawn of the Dead style.
Yeah, not brains. George.
Not Walking Dead shuffling.
Yeah. But
I get.
Yeah.
But yeah, so TOS definitely had its Western episode. Did Stargate ever do? I mean, they keep finding all these people, all these humans that were scattered all over the place. Did they ever do a Western?
No, because that would have been too recent in Earth's history. Because you got to remember the movie was about humans fighting off Ra in ancient Egypt, and that was when Earth was left alone by the Goa'uld up until the TV show. And then their presence became known at that point. So all the civilizations they meet that were planted are stems from ancient civilization. The Minoans, the Sumerians, the Gaul, the Mongolians. Although less said about that episode, the better.
I know you mentioned the Code of Honor.
So
fair enough. Just figured I'd ask because that's your ballywick.
Yeah, no, it was a fair question. It's just and
Battlestar Galactica didn't do it either.
Well, the TV show, at least the writers were savvy enough to realize, it wouldn't make sense to have a Western because of that issue.
Fair enough.
So
yeah. Battlestar Galactica didn't do anything. Neither did Babylon 5. But in some ways, Babylon 5 did kind of feel like a frontier town.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Times.
Yeah.
But that's about it. You know what else felt like a frontier town?
Terra Nova?
In some ways, it really did. I was going to go and say Deep Space Nine, but we'll get to that later.
We can get to that. We can talk a little bit about Terra Nova because that was basically human civilization, rebuilding itself, starting over. And they had a fort. Their city was a fort.
They did have a fort. They had marauding bandits, which,
what, the Sixers?
The Sixers, that in many Westerns, a lot of people forget about all the roving bands of outlaws and raiders, and what a lot of them were actual former Confederates that turned to lives of crime on the frontier in the second half of the 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more than just Native Americans. There were conflicts. There was conflicts along the Mexican border. There was conflicts, actually some minor issues along the Canadian border. But, you did have roving bands of outlaws and range wars and stuff that sometimes they'd have to call the army in to break up. So, yeah, Terra Nova does have a bit of a Western feel. Commander Taylor is almost he's like the colonel in charge of the fort. you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got this settlement that he's in charge of, but he's also the soldier who's in charge of the military, but he also kind of rules everything.
Yeah.
And then they bring in the cop who's like the sheriff, and he, you know, yeah, there's a bit of a Western vibe to it, especially when they have like the almost stockade like colony.
It's funny because we didn't discuss this in the Lost episode, so I'm actually I'm kind of pleased that we that I thought of it, because it doesn't come off necessarily as a Western, but there's so many Western elements to it. You know, yeah, frontier elements to it, that it's right there.
Yeah. It actually works pretty well when you think about it.
I mean, obviously, there's probably more sci-fi to it. Like, you know, there were the.
Well, it's time travel.
Yeah, time travel. There was the episode dealing with the migrating flying pterosaurs that were not pterosaurs, but they were something else. And this was
they were a type of pterosaur.
The city was on their breeding ground.
It was actually a little
sci-fi.
It was
thing,
almost a Star Trek episode.
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking, and then I realized, Brandon Braga was the producer, so it was totally straight out of Star Trek. So intelligent, you know, they weren't just there to be bloodthirsty; they were there because it was their breeding ground.
Hey, you want to know what else is wild?
What's that?
This one also only lasted one season.
One flippin' season, man. From what I've seen of Terra Nova, and I own it, I've enjoyed it quite a lot.
Me too. I've watched it like 3 or 4 times. It's a good watch.
Tis, absolutely is. So,
you know,
but
one of the
go ahead. Keep going.
You want to talk about a sci-fi Western?
Please. I'm always up for talking about a sci-fi Western.
The original Avatar was basically Dances with Wolves. In space.
Yeah, you're flipping right on that one, man.
I mean, Wes Studi was the voice of the chief.
That is also true. Oh, fucking hate that movie so much.
It was very much. They were very much a Native American allegory.
It was completely. I mean, it was hitting you over the head. Do you get what we're saying? Bang! Get what we're saying? Bang! Get what we're saying? Bang! Like, it's like,
let's not forget. This is what our good friend Stephen Lang did right before he did Terra Nova.
That's right. Well, that's how he got Terra Nova, because the producers there liked that kind of character that he did.
Yeah. Which, you know that character you did? Just do him as a good guy, not as a super dick.
He could be he can still be hard. He can still be a little rough around the edges, but we need him to be reasonable.
I liked his role. I liked Commander Taylor. He was a pretty good dude. He was a pretty good leader. Yeah, did he make some mistakes? Sure, that happens. I don't know if Picard's made mistakes. You know,
well, it happens. Mistakes, yeah.
But man, I liked Taylor. It was good. Ironically enough, before Avatar, I think the Stephen Lang's 2 probably most recognizable, or 3 most recognizable roles were playing George Pickett and Stonewall Jackson in 2 Civil War movies, and playing Ike Clanton in Tombstone.
Oh, good Lord.
So, sci-fi, westerns, period pieces.
And there it is.
Awesome. Well, I mean, but seriously, you know, you have very much the soldier becoming enamored with the culture of the native populace, and that then he then switches sides when the inevitable conflict comes between the military and the natives.
Right. I mean, we talked a little bit about this in the bullshit episode about Avatar. But I think what annoys me the most about Avatar and that whole conflict with the natives is this is supposed to be a more advanced human society, and they're doing the exact same damn thing that has been condemned at least for the last 70 years, at least.
More technologically advanced. It doesn't seem like humanitarian they are.
But the leader of the company was like, get the blue, I'm not going to say the exact term, but get the blue people out of the trees. When can I get the blue people out of the trees? It's like, wow. I mean, they're obviously sentient. They have a society. They can communicate. And it's very obvious that we are the bad guys here. And yet this is supposed to be accepted, that's just the rule, that's just the standard. Like, and all of these people are okay with this. Like, it's just like, that was what was so irritating about Avatar, because it was lazy. It wasn't nuanced in that regard.
At least if it was a period piece, people would go, oh, yeah. Boy, we really fucked up, didn't we?
Yeah. But this is, we're doing it. We're just going to do it again? Is that what James Cameron is saying? Like, what the hell?
I mean, if you just rehash something and you win a shitload of Oscars for it, does it make it bad?
What Oscars did Avatar win? It definitely wasn't Best Picture.
Didn't it win a shitload of Oscars?
I don't know. There was a little bit of Avatar backlash this year.
Anyway, we're getting a little bit off track.
We've already had It's still a Western.
It basically is. So, Avatar, space Western.
We didn't talk about this either in the last episode, in the Lost episode.
No, we didn't. But that's fine. Because you know what? It fits.
Okay, so 3 Oscar wins. Best achievement in cinematography, I'll give it that. Best achievement in visual effects, I'll give it that.
Okay.
Best achievement in art direction, I'll give it that.
All right, so it did win a few Oscars. Fair enough.
All technical.
Well, sure. Anyway, moving along. Let's see, we've covered 3 TV shows that didn't last more than 1 season. 1 movie, which we're dubious about since we saw it the first time, starring Kevin Costner.
Right.
And then, and by the way, one of the co-leads in Dances with Wolves, President Laura Roslin from Battlestar Galactica. Boom.
Oh.
McDowell.
Well, shoot.
Yep. Anyway, and then we did talk about 1 episode of Star Trek, which I guess means we should probably go back to Star Trek, because the later series also tackled Westerns. And I know you don't like it, but Fistful of Datas is a fun episode. Patrick Stewart gets a chance to direct a Western. He went and rented a bunch of Westerns. He even had the Enterprise flew off into the sunset.
Yeah, that was the thing.
And was it me, or was there like a guitar banjo riff of
guitar-ish, yeah.
At the end, like doing the next gen theme.
Yeah, there was something like that. You know what? I can do a search. Hold on. Let's see.
Well, let's see. Worf gets talked into doing a holodeck Western with his son, Alexander, whom we know he struggles to have bonding with. And a program apparently partially designed by Reg Barkley, to Worf's consternation, while they're on a downtime. And they go and do this Wild West scenario.
It's all right.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's not the scene you want. It's not the scene you want.
It's all good.
Keep going.
Anyway,
yeah.
So Worf doesn't like it, but he still does it anyway. He's kind of grumpy the whole time. Alexander's trying to teach him how to play, and he like goes in and like kicks everybody's ass, which is one of those rare examples of Worf kicking everybody's ass in the next gen. Wasn't being denied or overpowered to prove how tough these guys were. But he kicks everybody's ass really fast, including the kid Eli Hollander, played by John Piper Ferguson, a.k.a. Pete from Brisco.
Really?
Yep.
Pete?
Uh-huh. And remember, this episode came out right around the time Brisco was on the air. This was a season 6 episode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was excellent. He was such a douchebag, a little more competent than Pete, a little less cartoony, but still that kind of attitude. And then Worf kicks his ass and throws him in jail. After getting a little help from the mysterious stranger, Durango, played by Deanna Troi in extremely tight pants.
You had to bring up the pants, huh?
Smoking a cheroot and wielding a Winchester quite well, by the way. And then
let's not forget. Go ahead.
Well, let's not forget the time, currently while everybody else is on downtime, they're trying to run a diagnostic on Data. Or I think it's to like figure out if Data can like partially run engineering or something in the event of an emergency. And they do like this plug into it. And then all of a sudden, this glitch comes through, and then all of a sudden Data's shit starts popping up everywhere. And then Data himself starts having, "Get, you varmint," while yelling at Spot. And then he's just more and more of these cowboy slang starts coming out. Mm-hmm. He spits into a plant like a spittoon as he's leaving the observation lounge. "Don't you worry, Commander. We'll get this all fixed up by supper." And he like kind of bow-legged walks out. This was another one of those later season episodes that people said, "Hey, Brent, yeah, do whatever the fuck you want." Okie dokie.
Yeah, but we do need to size you up for this corset. What?
Yes. And all the characters start turning into Data. They all start looking like Data. They all start, and then Troy's like, "Well, if they look like Data, they must have his reflexes. Oh, shit." So then, and then you have Brent Spiner in drag, and then Brent Spiner with a bad mustache, a serape, and a sombrero doing a shitty Mexican accent.
I am not going to bring that one up.
Yeah. Because that's what one of the characters was, a bad Mexican stereotype.
Yep. Was he even played by a Mexican actor? Or a Hispanic actor?
I think so, initially. And then he was played by the whitest actor. So white, he's actually almost gold.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wait. Okay, so here is... I'm going to just... It's not what you think. But there's the Hispanic character that you were speaking of in the background there.
Yes.
With the giant sombrero. And, yeah. It's a badass shotgun he's got there.
Yeah. This is because the bad guy's dad, Frank Hollander or whatever, he shows up as Data first, and everybody's like, "Is Data here? Is he part of this?" And then everybody else starts turning into Data, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is bad." This is bad.
I mean, I can appreciate it for what it is. I just, growing up, I was not a big fan of Westerns, so.
And I get it. I was, so this was an episode that jumped out to me. And it's just funny. Brent Spiner is allowed to go be full Brent Spiner. You could tell later in the later seasons, he's like, please stop making me be this emotionless guy. Can I do something from time to time? That's why Data always gets possessed by people, so he can show emotion, be angry,
Masks.
do something stupid. Masks or power play. He was good in power play. He was such a dick. But this just allowed him to ham it up, especially when he turns into the saloon keeper or the madam or whatever it is.
The madam.
Yeah. Computer, end program.
Yeah. Please.
But but by the end, Worf kind of starts to, especially by the end, at the end of the episode, when he kind of puts the hat on and draws into the mirror, you can tell that he's kind of been bit by the bug.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a sheriff of a town, why not have Worf?
Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, he may not be as excellent a sheriff as Aaron Viva, but...
Can I just point out, this is the problem when you have HD remasters. That's supposed to be the screen of a Mozart, music by Mozart on a digital display. That is definitely just a piece of paper that taped to the blank screen of said personal device.
Back in the day, though, it looked pretty good.
The wavering on the edges there. The things that they did that you just thought was movie magic, Well, can't blame them.
To quote Howard Stark, I'm constricted by the technology of my time, or limited by the technology of my time.
It's true.
Fistful of Datas was just a fun episode. It was, and there it is. There's the Enterprise D flying off into the sunset. It's gorgeous.
It's a good shot.
It's
campy. That's a very pretty shot. All the colors, the lighting, just fantastic.
Flying over the moon or asteroid or whatever the hell it is.
And that's not a shot we normally see either. Usually they have the ship.
It's a panning shot usually, or
more to
maybe
the side.
The turning shot.
Yeah, they don't have the belly of the ship facing the planet. They usually have one of the starboard or the port sides facing the planet as it orbits around. So this is different. It was a different thing.
It was a very pretty way to end.
Yeah,
riding off into the sunset. It's a Western. And you know what?
Look at the gases that they have in the background.
Well, this is clearly the remastered version.
This was already there. They didn't add this. This was there.
I know, but it must be remastered because of how clear it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's just an amazing shot.
And God bless them for allowing them to do this. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
in a campy, fun way. It's one of my favorite Next Gen episodes just because it is fun. Another one I really like that's fun, although there's some darker spots to it, is the Enterprise episode.
North Star?
North Star. I love North Star, especially because it ends with a showdown between Archer, Reed, and a bunch of Makos and a bunch of Western thugs on this shootout at the KO Corral. It was fun.
You're frothing at the lip here.
Well, what can I say? Don't call me Mad Dog.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Oh goodness.
But it's a pretty good episode. It has hints of the 37s from Voyager, the humans taken from Earth and put down, and then and brought to be slave species on this planet, and they rebel and take over the planet. Whereas in the 37s, where they rebel and they build a thriving community that is advancing in civilization and everything. This one, they take over, they conquer the aliens, turn them into a subservient species, and the technology stays the same as it did when they left Earth like 200 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
And much in the way that minorities were treated poorly in
Earth's history,
the
American
West.
history.
The Skagarans, the original captive race, which I can understand there being a little hostility to. You did try to force us to be slaves, but
yeah, there's some dealt with animosity. Yeah.
yeah, but they're basically treated as a subservient race. They're not allowed to be educated.
It definitely is a case of eye for an eye, and that shows that eye for an eye is not the proper way of justice.
Right. So Enterprise is this is in the Delphi expanse while they're trying to find the Xindi homeworld to stop the weapon, and they're like, holy shit, there's an inhabited planet of humans? What the? So they have to stop and check it out. Especially because, the Xindi are hell-bent on wiping out all of humanity, so they got to figure out what's going on with these humans. And, you've got Trip and T'Pol here, doubling up on a horse. They're trying to get the lay of the land. There's a crooked deputy who's abusing his power and killing Skagarans and harassing them. The sheriff's not exactly helpful, but he's not exactly... He's not what you would call a great sheriff, but he's also not the guy who's outwardly going out and persecuting, but he does allow some shit to happen. But when he finally gets to see what's going on, and this one school teacher and the sheriff, they kind of get to see what's going on, and they stop this guy. Archer and company stops this guy. It ends with after the Makos win this gunfight, Archer has to have this basically knockdown, drag out fist fight in the livery stables, and wins. And Enterprise says they'll come back when they finish their mission, but they leave them with a pad to teach them about Earth history.
Yeah, where they came
from when their ancestors left to now. So now they're being taught history. They're teaching Skagaran, so it's starting to, they're trying to heal some wounds. The sheriff and the school teacher are kind of trying to get everything, trying to help advance the situation. And one of the last shots is, a mixed group of students, sitting there listening to Earth history read by the school teacher, and then the sheriff's in there as well. So they're showing signs of maybe some change for the better going, but it's still a pretty good classic. You got to run up against the corrupt lawman and the gang of thugs that preying on the weak and oppressing people, and then they get smacked down by the mysterious strangers, who just also happens to bring an advanced tactical team of highly skilled soldiers with them to kick some ass at the end. Love that.
It's there's a certain satisfaction.
They didn't call in the cavalry; they dropped in the 82nd Airborne right on top of them.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff.
Yeah, no, it was excellent. It was fun too.
And it's one of those things where the Prime Directive, which didn't exist in Enterprise, yes, I acknowledge
Correct.
that. But you don't have to deal with the ethical issues of a pre-warp civilization, because they were already dealing with a post-warp civilization and the fallout thereof.
And the ones who kind of knew their history also knew that they were taken in a spaceship to another planet.
Right.
So there is some awareness of that fact, but these were basic, these are humans who were stolen from their homes, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a gray area. The Prime Directive would probably have some fits with, but I still like it. It's a good Western. Ironically, the TV show that didn't have a Western, which in many ways was has very much significant Western elements is Deep Space Nine,
Yeah.
which is a frontier post. It's an outpost. There, you got some hostile natives on one side, some peaceful natives on the other side. There's, they're out there trying to keep the peace.
Their entire theme song was, based off of a blown bugle on the prairie. Waking up the fort.
Yep. And as someone who lived and served on what was once a great frontier post, an old cavalry post on the plains of Kansas, I can tell you just how far that mournful sound carries.
Does it carry far?
Out there. It does carry far.
Interesting.
Especially when you're up on the high ground.
Oh.
No, seriously, we lived on this place called Custer Hill. It was the high point of the post, and half the post was on this lower ground. You could hear a lot of things carry from the top. But
perhaps unwanted conversations.
No, not that much. But bugle sounds, gunfire, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was one of those big picture books of Star Trek. It was like around it was like a Star Trek pictorial history. I had the book when I was a kid. I think you might have had it. It goes all the way up to the early sketches of Voyager, and when we were kicking around with our own story, we were trying to see if any of those we could create a ship design off of.
I like the initial Voyager ideas with the trident, not the trident. Sorry, the
triangular.
The triangular section.
Yep.
I liked that. That was
well, like in a lot of those books, they'll have, the main, writing per chapter going through, but they would also have like inserts, which would be like a sidebar of the story. And that book had an insert that was Deep Space Nine as Fort Laramie, because Fort Laramie in Wyoming, I think it is, was like a huge frontier post that was kind of a jumping off point for a lot of major expeditions. It was along the Oregon Trail. It was a major hub, like smaller forts would be, it would be able to support smaller forts in the area, but it was also a major way station. There was a lot of treaties with Native Americans there, but they kind of consider Deep Space Nine as this frontier outpost, this lone post out there. Hell, they even have a constable or a sheriff,
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, Odo kind of reminds you of these like strong, silent type Western heroes, try to avoid violence at all costs and try to keep peace in their town, those sort. But then you have like the scheming landowner who's trying to take over the territory, and that was Gul Dukat. So there were a lot of Western hints to it. One of the main characters was the frickin' bartender. The bartender and the sheriff were two of the main characters. The bar was right down the hall from the sheriff's office, which was right down the hall from the frontier doctor who was out there trying to save lives. The young, idealistic frontier doctor. I've seen this in 100 Westerns. He's either the young, ideal type or the old, crusty type. But Star Trek already had plenty of those. So, it had a lot of Western vibes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, the convoys going in and out of the in the early seasons, in and out of the Gamma Quadrant were like wagon trains. So that's what Star Trek was sold as, was wagon train to the stars. And Deep Space Nine was the fort at which the wagon train stopped over on its way
Yeah.
to the great beyond. I mean,
without pretty much exactly at that, yeah.
I mean, hell, there was even a couple of showdowns on the Promenade.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the one where Jake was possessed by the Pa-Wraith,
yeah,
I think, and Kira was possessed by the Prophet. There's a showdown on the Promenade.
Yeah, there really wasn't there? That was showdown at high noon, right?
During the early days of the Dominion occupation, when the Vedic throws herself off and hangs herself in the town square to protest the Dominion being there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hanging in the town square today. A lot of Western motif out there. Just a thought.
I completely agree with said descriptions and whatnot.
Deep Space Nine didn't have a Western episode per se.
It was the Western.
I don't think Voyager did, although in some ways it was almost like the wagon train out there being out on its own, or maybe, but
yeah.
But that
that was almost like Vasco da Gama or something like that.
It was like almost like a little bit of like Francis Drake and stuff out there,
Yeah.
These agents, these explorers. And well, we haven't seen any of the new Trek really hit the West too much. I mean, they've made hints at things like that in Lower Decks, but the closest thing they get is when they do the Mark Twain to resolve problems on the riverboat. They're 20
Oh yeah.
So excellent.
Yeah, and they just ended up there like, how did we get here? I don't know. Like, damn it, we're twaining it again.
And Discovery hasn't done it. Picard didn't do it. Strange New Worlds. Well, there was that holodeck program that Christopher Pike and Miles O'Brien were on. It was called Hell on Wheels. But, I mean, that aside from that, there wasn't much on Strange New Worlds either.
No.
Hell on Wheels was a great show, by the way. It's a great show.
Yeah.
But stuff. Here's one for you. Back to the Future 3.
Yeah, that definitely was, did we talk about Back to the Future 3 in the last episode?
I can't recall.
I don't think we did.
I think we kind of got bogged down on Star Trek for the most part.
We did, and now we're all Star Trek'd out about it, so we're like focusing on more things. Terra Nova, Avatar, Back to the Future 3, which is a little on the nose. They used every single Western trope that existed at that point. Sure. Because, hey, guys, if you didn't know this is a Western, it's a Western because it has all these tropes in it. Lighten up, jerk. What?
You know what, though? It was enjoyable.
Strong words, fella.
That was actually the first Back to the Future movie I ever saw.
Was it really?
Yeah, we went to... I was younger. We went to the movies.
Yeah.
My parents were like, well, this is light and it's a Western and you like watching Westerns with your grandfathers. So come on, let's go see this. Then it was fun. I know a lot of people don't think, might not be people's favorite, but I really did enjoy it because, I mean, Michael J. Fox is stuck in is he stuck in the 50s?
He was. So this is what drove me nuts because I knew that they were going. So they did a cliffhanger teaser at the end of the second movie where Marty lost the DeLorean. He was stuck in the 50s, and then they showed the teaser of Hill Valley from 1885, and I'm sitting going, what the heck? How are they going to do that? Because he's got no DeLorean, and for the longest time, because I saw Back to the Future 2 in the movie theater with my father back in '89, I think, and then Back to the Future 3 came out the next year in 1990. We did not see that in the movie theater. And in fact, it was another 2 years before I actually saw Back to the Future 3 and was able to rent it from Blockbuster. And finally found out how Marty was able to get from the 50s back to 1885. That haunted me. It haunted me. Because I had seen from the middle of the movie to the end, part 3. But I never saw the beginning.
It made sense, timey-wimey wise, as far as Back to the Future was, anyway.
Oh,
made
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
But he dresses up like these dime store cowboys from the 50s with a lot of these pastel colors, and he goes out to this drive-in movie theater or whatever and uncovers the DeLorean.
Yeah, the climate for Hill Valley changed pretty dramatically from just a few miles away, and they went to the drive-in theater, it looked like it was in the middle of Monument Valley.
Monument Valley. Nobody goes to Monument Valley except John Wayne.
Yeah.
For all of his movies.
Yup. And again,
it was,
Western trope.
And all the mural, the Indians and the cavalry and whatnot. And then all of a sudden he shows up and he's in the middle of a battle.
Yeah. The cavalry. So
tons of tropes. It was funny. He shows up and he runs into his own ancestor.
Yeah, like great
Seamus,
great grandfather. Something like that. Yeah.
And he's like, what the hell are you wearing? They give him some clothes so he blends in more with.
You don't even have a decent pair of boots. You're just wearing those moccasins. Yeah.
It was good. And then you get Biff Tannen, or his great grandfather, Mad Dog Tannen. Buford, I think it was like Buford or something. So
yeah.
Mad Dog.
Tannen, Mad Dog. Nobody calls me Mad Dog.
His principal's the sheriff. It's all this. It's a great way to. It's all the great TV and movie. Oh, who's going to play your grandfather? You with a mustache. That's what it is. You with some facial hair. It was fun. They had to find a way to generate enough speed for the Marty to get back to the future, the correct future, and Doc falls in love and wants to stay.
Mm-hmm. And the biggest theme that I can remember out of this that has been ingrained in my head from the very first time I heard it. And here we go. Copyright away.
Any brawling, it's 15 days in the county jail. All right, folks, come on. This is a party. Come on, let's have some fun.
ZZ Top.
ZZ Top. Flipping the guitars, the drums. So, yeah. I mean, that's been ingrained in my head. Every now and then it gets stuck in there. And I'm like, dun, 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 dun. It's just a weird theme. But I mean, definitely representative of 1880 something, They did a good job of that.
It was fun. And then they tease you a little like, oh, if we wanted to make another Back to the Future movie, we could, because he made a time machine out of this damn train.
Yeah. Well, they kind of did with the Back to the Future cartoon.
Right, which was basically a direct sequel to the show.
Yeah. And Christopher Lloyd did bumpers for it, like little science bumpers.
Yeah, in season 1, I think. But
there was more than one season.
You know how these cartoon seasons are.
I know, they front load them, and then they might have a second season with like 6 episodes or something.
Or yeah, like 10 episodes, and then it's on for like 5 years, and you're like, wow, what do you mean this was only 2 seasons? What?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was fun. Back to the Future 3 was fun, and it was most definitely a sci-fi western.
Yeah, this is a good catch, man. An obvious one, but something that we just completely neglected on finding.
Yeah,
and in pure Back to the Future fashion, perfect on the suspense. The
Right.
edge of your seat, timed based suspense, like with each log having to accelerate the train, and you had like 2 minutes in between. And Clara was jumping on, like, just, you're sitting on the edge of your seat going, oh my God, is this going to work?
And as always, a tannin ends up in manure.
Yeah. That's not a Western trope. That's a Back to the Future trope.
True.
So, did you get the reel I sent you of the Back to the Future soft reboot?
Maybe I was limited over the last couple of days on it.
It was good, but they should never be done. So
so we're running a little low on time, but I'll throw out 2.
Please do.
We talked about them in our cartoon theme songs, but Brave Star,
yeah.
On the planet of New Texas, Marshall Bravestar, this Native American with the power of several animals to generate strength or speed or sound or hearing or vision or something, fighting on this Wild West planet. Kind of wild. It was the last ever Filmation TV series. It was supposed to be a replacement for He-Man, but it was definitely wild. It was kind of neat though. I rewatched a couple of episodes, I'm like, damn, this is wild shit.
Yeah,
this is some serious drug induced shit. That nobody was on the peyote for this. But, it was wild, but it was fun. It was definitely a slice of late 80s. I think they were attempting to create like a Native American superhero who was, kind of a badass. But, and then of course, as always, the Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa was one of the best theme songs of the early 90s.
You're going to make me do it.
Cartoons.
You're going to make me do it.
I'm not going to make you. I might suggest it, but I'm not making. Anthropomorphic cows who live on this, mile-high mesa created by a comet passing by, or you could just listen to the song.
Comet leads the mesa to the western skies with the sound of 1,000 cattle drive.
Loud.
A chosen few would see the light and find the wrong.
This is a damn good song.
It's a bop.
Shooting stars.
The Marshall.
Yeah.
Cleaning up the territory, keeping evil on its toes. Takes a
That's some solid animation too.
Yeah. And again, the theme song done by country singer Billy Dean.
Yeah.
Not a bad job. It was a real good one. Would be great if I go see him in concert and you're hearing dudes yell out in the audience, "Do the theme song to Moo Mesa! Come on!"
You know, if I was him, I would have that on reserve. Just just for the hell of it, you know.
The funny thing is, too, I read recently that Disney owns the rights to the Cowboys of Moo Mesa and have been kicking around the idea of doing a reboot, which then you know what? They need to like bring out like a modern country singer, like, I don't know, John Party or Luke Combs would be great. But it'd probably be Morgan Wallen or Lainey Wilson doing.
I've had an impacted rear end fill of Morgan Wallen. He is overplayed, man. I mean, I'm not saying he's bad, but
in fairness, the song he's got with Post Malone right now is actually pretty good.
It's not bad. I just heard it so many freaking times, man.
Of course. But come on, man. Moo Mesa's a fucking bop. What can I say?
It is a bop. It's a banger. It's a banger.
And those are clearly sci-fi westerns.
I mean, you can't get more sci-fi western than that.
Nope.
It opens up with a comet, man.
And all you need to do is listen to the theme song, and you're like, "Oh, I know exactly what the show's about. Perfect."
Yep. You set it up pretty well.
You barely need a pilot. This is a good song. A great theme song. It explains everything you need in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, we need more of that.
Well, I mean, you literally feel sometimes that life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg.
Oh, there were some sci-fi elements in that too, weren't there?
Very. There was some Old West kind of things there too, because remember, he and his girlfriend Goldie were digging for gold out in the West. At one point, he was an Old West prospector.
That's right, he was. Wow. Well, darn, dude. Well, we can't. I don't want to get hit with too many copyrights here.
So. Well, you know what probably won't get you whacked for a copyright. It's when you play us out with some Brisco.
Oh, yeah, because that's all over the internet. And it's an Olympic year, so
it is an Olympic year. It'll go over well. And I hear Aaron Viva might be one of the bearers of the Olympic torch. Well, my friend, what say you?
I think that this is a good time to go out. So, on that note, from this Western boy to you and your hearts, we are those sci-fi guys. I am P.S. McKay. You guys keep dreaming. We'll keep working. So long, everyone. It's out there.
And I'm DT Cavman. And if you can see me, my horse is on 2 legs up here on the high ground. Yo.